The criminal story of Paul Mwaniki, aka Mwanee Sparta, Nairobi's gangster who killed cops for fun. After the death of Tommaso Gagala in August 2014, Mwanee Sparta took charge of the notorious Gaza Gang. He assumed the role of the boss, like his idol, Vybz Kartel. But before he could recruit young men into his crew, he first needed to form a Gaza cabinet. First to be appointed was Teddy Kasanga, a street bully, and his childhood best friend who later became second in rank. Together with his bosom buddy, Teddy Kasanga, Mwanee appointed 3 other members to his kitchen cabinet. As a sign of initiation, loyalty, and oathing to the gang, Mwanee personally shaved their heads to usher them into his cabinet. After the medieval shaving, each member was offered a blunt to smoke his way into Gaza life and puff away the fear of common men. The task ahead was not for the faint-hearted. This he did as he waited for his friend Kalo to be freed from industrial area prison. Kalo was a real general whose spot in the gang was secured. Moreover, he also needed a female in his ranks. That's when he met his wife, Clea Vybz, who was then a teenager. The two quickly fell in love, and after 10 shots of honey, they became parents, blessed with a baby boy. Their new baby inspired Mwanee to go hard. He had to provide for his family. Being the boss's wife, Clea Vybz assumed the role of Queen of Gaza. She led the Warembo Sako front of the Gaza Gang together with Marsha Minaj. They would woo victims in clubs only for them to be robbed by Mwanee and his crew. Later in 2016, Kolo was released on bond. Quickly, he reunited with his friend Mwanee Sparta, and together the reign of terror continued full force. They continued to hit M-Pesa shops and businesses around Eastlands. This they did without fear since, after a successful hit at an M-Pesa in Kayole, Mwanee bought his first gun. With the newly acquired assault rifle, they graduated to home invasions. Sadly, in the early morning hours of February 2015, Mwanee and his crew invaded the home of former Moyale MP Philip Godana. They stole his home appliances and shot him dead in front of his family. The thrill of the gun excited Mwanee. He saw how successful they became with it, and then he plotted to acquire more guns for his crew. However, he was not going to buy them. He was going to steal from the police officers. The first victim was AP Eston Mutini Ndwiga. He was ambushed in November 2016 as he headed home in Mihango area, and shot several times in the chest. Sadly, he had not carried his weapon, so they had nothing to rob. After this, the gang retreated to their hideout location to let things cool off. This was their first police kill, and Mwanee feared that his cover was blown. Sadly, they were still labeled as unknown assailants. Meanwhile, as they hid and smoked away their days, paranoia hit Mwanee hard. He now suspected that his friend Kalo was nyanduering his babe, Clea Vybz, since they were showing each other love online. This was unacceptable. Mwanee called his friend Kalo and set up a meeting at a quarry in Kayole. Oblivious to what awaited him, Kalo met the boss. There, Mwanee confronted Kalo about his alleged love affair with Clea, and when Kalo denied it, he was shot and thrown down into the quarry. As a gangster, Mwanee knew no investigation would be done, and he was right. Kalo rested in peace underwater. After killing his friend, he resorted back to his original plan. They needed more guns, so they needed to rob a cop. This was after realizing the cops still didn't know who he was, so a plan was hatched. On a Friday night, after dropping PS Margaret Mwariama at her Nairobi home, Sergeant Asbel Kiplimo drove off in his assigned Prado to his home at Umoja Estate. When he arrived at his house, he started offloading foodstuffs he had bought for his family, waiting for them to come pick them up. Then Mwanee pulled up on Nduthi and shot him twice in the head. He fell down, and they took his gun, shot him with it, and carried it away. With a new gun, they felt untouchable. They went into hiding again, but Mwanee couldn't keep his mouth shut. He bragged about it to a female friend who sold him out to a police informer. Now, with his cover blown, he resorted to weeding out the snitch in his crew. Just like Kalo, he killed his friend Baba Aleko, whom he suspected to be an informer since it was to his girl that Mwanee had bragged about killing Asbel Kiplimo. After being ratted out, he vowed to go full throttle. At around 11 p.m. on March 20th, 2017, they ambushed police Japheth Mwidi and Catherine Weremu as they waited to enter the officer's car, which was parked at Naiva supermarket in Kayole. Japheth Mwiti was shot 5 times in the head and twice in the body. He died instantly, and they took his gun, which was loaded with 15 bullets. His friend Catherine was shot 3 times but survived and was rushed to the hospital. This ambush reached the police's limit. The then Nairobi boss, Japheth Kumi, declared war on Mwanee and his Gaza crew. They were sure it was him, and now sleuths were on his tail. Mwanee and his crew were now marked men and went into hiding in Kayole. In April 2017, police received intel about their hideout and stormed the place to flush out the thugs. Sadly, a gunfight ensued, which ended with the death of police Boniface Okech, who was shot by Mwanee, and his gun was also stolen. The remaining cops warned him on Facebook while also telling him that one of his pals had been shot dead. In their hideout, police recovered guns, 12 bullets, and handcuffs, all stolen from slain officers. However, Mwanee would recover his lost items by killing another policeman, Kennedy Nkuni, who was attached to the State House Administrative Secretary John Makumi. They stole his Cheska pistol and 12 rounds of ammunition and went into hiding. That killing irked the police even more. They swore to end Mwanee's life, intensifying surveillance. On May 12, 2017, his wife, Clea, met her death while stealing from an M-Pesa shop. She was left behind by Mwanee as they escaped, and after a shootout, she was shot dead at the age of 18. In his hideout, Mwanee could only mourn the death of his wife online since he was a man living on borrowed time. He posted, "RIP my love, miss you so much." This was because he could not attend her burial, which was under heavy police surveillance. At her burial, only family and cops showed up, waiting to see if the dreaded gangsters would show up. After failing to trace Mwanee, police turned to Marsha Minaj. She ranked second after Clea Adi Vibs and was believed to be armed and in constant talks with Mwanee. She too would Lamba Lolo. On May 28, 2017, the NASA coalition had a meeting at Jacaranda grounds. This, according to Marsha Minaj, was the perfect spot to send goons to rob Kenyans of their phones. So they went to work, not knowing DCI sleuths were in the area, waiting for any sound of alarm to act. When one Kenyan shouted, "Mwizi," the DCI ran into action, running after him but losing the trail. They then tracked Minaj to a bedsitter in Jacaranda, surprisingly in the company of the thug eating her nyaos. They were asked to surrender, but refused, and that's when the police sprayed bullets. The death of his 2 bad girls troubled him. Now there was no reverse gear. He was going to revenge and show the cops that they couldn't get him. On August 18, 2017, the gangsters attacked 2 police officers in Githunguri, killed them, and made away with their AK-47 rifle. Unfazed by their action, Mwanee and his goons posted pictures of themselves with the gun. Clearly, all were now armed as he wished, and not at all scared of the police. This, however, was their undoing. Police intensified their search for them, and informants traced them to the Witithi area. The sleuths planned meticulously and went to flush them out. The officers involved were tight-lipped since they knew Mwanee had informers in the force. When they arrived, a 2-hour gun drama ensued. The crew was not going down easily. The crew ran out towards the swamp of Witithi and scattered. However, the sleuths focused on 2 leaders who hid in the area, shooting back. First to be shot was Willie. This was after he shot a victim who tried to stop him from entering a compound. Mwanee dashed into the swamp and managed to evade police for an hour before he was finally gunned down by determined officers at a riverbank, as he was trying to escape towards the Athena area. He died at 23. His best friend Teddy would be lucky, and it was after Mwanee's death that he assumed the role of boss. However, he moved to Tala since Nairobi was hot and continued to carry out his actions. But that's a story for another day.